edition of the Microshift Project Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Nick Valinchak. That's Nicky V if you're nasty. And I'm excited because today we're going to talk about the first of my 5 personal micro shifts that I went through. And they were all really in a short period of time, right? The first 3 are like a couple weeks apart. Then it takes about like a 2-year gap. Then it's another 3 years to the last one. But the first 3 really come fast and furious. And it's going to be fun, these first few, because this is like really good story time. Now, not to glamorize it, but when you're a drug addict, you end up with a lot of really good stories to tell about all the bullshit that you did. These are not the funnest of the stories. These are more like real life, hits you in the gut type of stories that I'm going to talk about. But I do think we'll have people on the podcast who we can talk humorously about the stupid things we did, but also deliver like a good message to the people who are listening. So I want to take you back in time. It's 2005. I had just turned 21 years old. I'm living in my car, which is an interesting experience. There's not a lot of places where you could just like go sleep in a car. You don't want to go, the parks usually close up and there's no entrance to the parks. Any of the places where you probably wouldn't be noticed are on the turnpike. You have to have money to get on the turnpike. Not typically a common trait of a homeless person to have expendable income to where twice a day, 4 times a day, really, I guess you would have to exchange money to get on and off the turnpike. So choices were really limited. And I had found that it was really fun to sleep in the Walmart parking lot. I had 2 bags of clothes in my back seat, big bags, and I would actually I'd put them in the front seat, and then when it was time to go to sleep that night, I'd lay down in the back seat and put them on top of me. Number one, it was for a little bit more added warmth because you're not keeping your car running. You can't do that. That's the first sign that you might be trying to sleep in your car, is if it's on for 8 hours straight. But it was also just because I wanted to try to get away from the world, So it was like my little escape. When I put those bags on me, it was almost like, in an odd way, a weight being lifted off of me because I knew nobody could see me. They were kind of like how I had the clothes packed in. They were really loose. So the bags would kind of really fall around me. And even though I'm sure I was still super sexy at this point, I'm not in 2005 in the shape that I am in 2025. Right now, I'm 6'5" and about 250 of lean, mean muscle. I was probably about 100, and I can tell you when I got to the mission, there are some photos that will kind of show this. I'll find them and show them off. I don't know if it's considered showing them off, whatever. I was probably about 135 pounds at 6'4", so it didn't take much to hide me. Height-wise, I'm there, but there's nothing left of me at this point. I'm completely rotting away. I hadn't had an actual sit-down meal in months. My diet at this point literally just consisted of whatever I could steal from the gas stations, I could tell you right now, oftentimes what I would do is there's a speedway in Austintown, Ohio, and I know this isn't a local podcast, but whatever. Austintown, Ohio, I would go pretend like I was going to get gas, but really it was like I'm going to go to the bathroom before I go into Walmart. So I would go into the bathroom, and then on my way out, they had these warmers where they had like hot dogs, but man, they had the most delicious little like taquito things. And I did this night after night. So I'm sure that like the teenagers working there knew what I was up to, and they probably smelled me and just felt bad for the guy who was coming in here every night having to steal whatever from that hot food section. And that would be my only meal. And most of the time I would get like 2 taquitos, or I would be able to get like a hot dog and a taquito. Trust me when I tell you, it was not much. And any money I was getting was like, I didn't even try to steal a drink. I don't know, like there would probably be days where I didn't drink a liquid unless it was vodka, which I would just buy the cheapest vodka I could find, and it just rattled along my floor. So things were really, like really, 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 really bottoming out bad. And I try to put myself in that mindset at that time to think through, like, what the fuck was going through your head at this time? And it wasn't even like drug addict things. It was just survival. Like, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to stay alive. Short of like taking a human life, but I'm going to do whatever I have to do to stay alive. But then that really started to erode quickly. You know, after a few weeks of like living in your car, it predictably humbles you in such a way that you start to look at yourself and what you're doing a lot differently. And so I feel like it was almost like one night I went to sleep and I was like, this could be worse. And I woke up in the morning and was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And it wasn't I don't want to sleep in the back seat of my car. I don't want to do this anymore. It was a life, I'm ready to be done type of feeling. And I was too much of a coward to do. I'm not going to shoot myself. I'm not going to cut myself up. Anytime I cut myself, it would be like when we were backyard wrestling and just stupid shit to impress people. But actual like harm myself to the point of death, too much of a coward to do something like that. But you start to feel like, well, I don't know what the choices are here. What am I supposed to do? And you just have this endless feeling of like almost Groundhog Day. Just I woke up in Walmart's parking lot. I have to go figure out how to scrounge up like $5 for gas. So a lot of times it would be like steal something, go try to trade it in, you know, steal a couple movies, take them to buyback. No, it wasn't buybacks at the time, CD Warehouse, I think. Take it to CD Warehouse, see if you can, you know, get 4 movies, and maybe they'll give you like $5 a movie or whatever at the time. If they're new and sealed, like maybe you could get $5 a movie and you have $20. So you could get some vodka and you can get some gas, and that's your go plan. It just becomes like a cycle of endless nothingness. Was this what I was put here for? And so the thoughts had become more and more dark, and I felt like my sun was setting. And one of these mornings I woke up and I picked up the bottle of vodka from the floor. I don't know, probably like 3/4 of it was left. And I loved nothing more than to drink on what we called the back roads in Canfield. There was like, as much as Canfield, for being an upper middle class area, was like heavily policed, there was this like triangle in the area between all the cities surrounding it, where we knew that like there typically weren't cops there, and especially at this point, the sheriffs that used to sometimes come there weren't, because there was a sheriff's shortage. And so pretty much all the sheriffs that were around were just doing jail duty. So you knew you just kind of had carte blanche, and that was the area. If you wanted to go do whatever kind of stupid shit you wanted to do, you went there. So I was driving around listening to music loud, always listen to music loud, still listen to music loud. At 41 years old, I get looks from teenagers because I'm just banging driving down the road. But that's a part of me that I'm just not willing to change. I get enjoyment out of that. I like listening to music loud, whatever it is. It could be metal, but mostly it's hip hop. And guess what? I know that like people typically hit a certain age and they lose touch with the movement. I'm here to tell you that I don't. I'm current with hip hop. I love the new stuff that's come out. I love pretty much every generation has had really good music. Anyway, that's not really here nor there. So I am like very quickly escalating this morning, where it's not like I took a shot and I drove around for a while. It's like I pounded it, and 20 minutes later, I'm like, fuck, I am lit. And it's like 7:30 in the morning driving around these back roads. And there's a road that goes straight for, I don't know, probably pretty close to a mile. And then it has like an S pattern of curves. And something in my head was just like, the easiest way to take yourself out is to go as fast as you could get this car to go, hit the curve, and if you turn that wheel going that speed in the winter, it's I think when I did this, I want to say it's late January, at the latest early February. So we're talking like prime winter in Northeast Ohio. And I guess I had liquid courage that morning, because I vaguely remember like having a thought, and I was like, no, you know what? You can't. I was always like, no, that you can't take another human's life. You don't take your own life. This is precious. After dealing with, my mother's passing, and then dealing with one of my best friends having a horrific motorcycle accident no more than a few months, I think, before this, I'm like, life is precious. You don't take it for granted. But I don't know what it was. Something in me, I feel like there was that devil, or maybe it was an angel on my shoulder that just said, do it. And I felt peace. Like, like when you go through tough situations, it might be momentarily tough, but once you do it, you get this like overwhelming sense of peace amongst yourself. Like, I this tough thing that I had to move past, I did it. And now I am able to move on, and my conscience feels clear, and I'm ready to do whatever comes next. And so with that being said, I slammed on the gas and just went. I don't think I'm a little afraid of speeds. I don't do roller coasters. I'm not into stuff like that. So I don't think, and this is also like 2002, so I don't even think cars get up that fast. So I want to say I was probably hitting around 90 miles an hour. My heart is just beating. Boom, 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 boom. And I remember I come up, and before there's the S's, there's just like a very, a quick, but like 45-degree, but straight road. And I take that, and I feel the back tires kind of move a little bit. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this is going to work. And you've made this decision to end it all. And I feel like in the moment, I was second guessing if this is the right thing to do, but it didn't matter because the curves come so fast that my next realization is, oh shit, there's the turn. And I just whip the steering wheel. And I feel my 90, let's see, at this point it was a 95 Grand Am GT, I believe it was. I had gotten it when I graduated. I had to use my own money, thanks, Dad. I felt it get airborne. And again, that overwhelming sense of peace was just like right there, like a passenger in the seat next to me. You know what I mean? It was as if I had confirmation that the thing I did, no matter how terrible it was the right decision. And look, even though my family was not happy with me, if I did this to myself and I had accomplished my feat, I don't know where my dad would have gone from there. It would have scarred my siblings. My grandmother, who had lost her daughter-in-law and her son, who I had his name. I have his middle name. His first name is my middle name. And he is a hero I will never meet because he ended up giving his life breaking up a domestic dispute in front of a bar when he saw a woman being beaten by her boyfriend. And he stepped in and made sure that it stopped. And as he walked away, the coward pulled out a pistol and shot him in the back of the head. You know, this would have damaged the lives of all the people around me. So continuing my train and my path of selfish decision making, even though I felt at peace in my decision, I have no doubt that it would have caused terrible harm to so many people. And I felt the car up against the tree in the air, and it's so hard to explain. And it's almost as if there was a hand or something moving the car through the air, because it didn't smash the tree. It felt like it hit it, like it was a decent hit, but it almost like the force kind of like the angle caused it to kind of slide more than it was a slam. And I hit the tree, slid down. And because this is all going so fast and my heart's beating and I've all, like my mind is probably the only time in my life where I have been like disoriented to the point where I have no real understanding of where I am, what's happening, who I am. But I remember the thud of hitting the ground. And because my foot was still on the accelerator, I shot out of the ditch facing the opposite direction I had just come. And I quickly put the car in park and just like, like, what the fuck just happened? And I, in the street, I mean, plastered drunk, got out of the car, and I remember everything around me was like, listen, at this point in life, I'm a professional drunk. I can drink a bottle of vodka and it's not like I'm stumbling around and falling. It's like I can manage to, but because of the movement and action that it just had, I am legitimately disoriented. And I go look at the side of my car and there's like a very small indentation on the right rear wheel well and some scratches. But like overall, you would never imagine that this vehicle had just been through what it had been through. And I got back in the car, and you would think most people at this point would be like, there was just divine intervention. And this would be a moment that people would look back on and be like, I got a second lease on life because I tried to do this stupid thing. And, you know, whatever your belief system designates as being what the force would be that stopped it from happening, that's what allowed me my second chance. But not me. I literally sat there for a second and my mind just went back to blank, and it was just right back in survival mode. And as I've now decades now, just having celebrated 20 years since going through this, it's amazing to me that situation didn't have an impact on me at all. It was like nothing. And so what I do want to take a pause to talk about really quick is how drinking and drugs work in with all of this. And I think when a lot of people talk to me and they hear my story, they assume that I am a recovered drug addict. And I will acknowledge that, but I will not say I'm clean. How I playfully refer to it is my less dirty date is March 16th, 2005, 316. Having been a big fan of Austin and John, that holds a lot of symbolism to me. And I'm saying this right now for two reasons. Number one, authenticity and full disclosure. I still drink, even sometimes to the point where I get drunk, and I will still use THC products. I'm actually a very, I'm an advocate, I think is the best word, for the use of THC, especially in treatments of things like anxiety, of which I suffered for the longest time. And I think it's important. And to be honest with you, I think I'm probably as well an advocate for microdosing of psychotics medicinally. No, I'm not going to go take a bag of mushrooms and go lay on the grass and look at the stars. But we deal with some real life shit in our lives. And if these plants and things of that nature are there and can possibly help us manage our day-to-day lives so that we can be better people, I don't think there's much of a discussion point. But that's my thing. It has taken literally 20 years for me to be even willing to accept in myself that there's different levels. Everybody has their own path, and nobody can tell you that my path will work for you or that your path will work for me. You genuinely have to find your own path, understand the barriers that you need to put up when you are dealing with shit like this. Conversely, I will not allow my doctor and I have had multiple discussions, and it's in all of my charts that no matter what, I don't get any narcotic pain medication. And I've had surgeries and I don't get narcotic pain medication. Do I think I could handle them responsibly? Yeah. But do I want to tempt myself? No, I do not want to do that, because going back to where I was is not an option. Okay? It's just not. So I feel the need to disclose things like that, because very quickly I think people could start to look at this and be like, he's drug free or he's clean. And I think it's more about other people, because I know of many people who need to be completely clean. And that's the only way they can manage life. And I feel insincere, and I feel like I'm robbing them if I sit here and allow that to be put on me. So I just want to make it clear, day one, that this is the situation with me. But back to the story, back to the broadcast as planned. So now, after this ridiculous situation that I've done to myself, my car still running completely fine. I continue to drive around until I hit the point where, like, I don't notice, I guess, but I'm running out of gas. and I have no money. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have anybody I could call. I remember looking through my cell phone, and I don't know if it was on or not, but just like looking through it, thinking to, when I say on, I mean like I could use it to call someone. If I had a phone, it was probably for like phone book usage only and not for actual like I'm going to use this as a functioning phone. And I remember looking through it like I have absolutely fucking nobody who cares enough to answer. Even if this thing could serve the utility that it's here for, no one's here to hear me. Nah, that's nothing. So I sit there for a while, a few minutes pass, and then I genuinely don't know what I can do. I think like in my head, I'm like, it's been a while since I've talked to my dad, and even though we're not on great terms, I know that my brother told me he feels bad because he has a restraining order out on me. So I feel like if I could get a phone and call him, he will, in this specific instance, help me put gas in my car. And again, like I am ragged, not looking good. And I get out of my car and I look every bit of at the very least, a drug addict. But realistically, I probably look like a drug addict who's living in their car because, hello, I'm a drug addict who's living in their car. And so I stood out by my car for like, I can honestly not tell you if it was 5 minutes. It couldn't have been more than 15 minutes. I'm just watching cars drive by and thinking to myself, I would do the same thing to you too. I would not stop for you either. And then I see a car put on its turn signal, and they get into the shoulder. They pull up behind me, and I'm thinking to myself like, oh my God, these are the stupidest fucking people that have ever lived. I know how I look. I wouldn't pull up for myself. What are you doing pulling up for me? And so the husband gets out of the car and says, hey, what's going on? I tell him, listen, I'm a junkie. I'm homeless. I'm out of gas. I have no ability to talk to anyone to get help. I don't know what to do here. And he's like, okay. Well, let's figure this out together. You could use my phone. Is there anybody you could call? And I was like, at this point in life, the only person who might pick up my call is my dad. I call my dad, and my dad reads me the riot act, which even still to this day, pretty much anytime I say anything to him, he reads me the riot act. And if he doesn't, I say stuff to make him read me the riot act just for my own personal shits and giggles. And my dad's like, whatever, I'll fill up your tank one more time. That's fine. Just you got to know you're not staying here. You got to come here. I'll take you to get gas and then put it in your car, and then that's it. And I'm like, fine, whatever. So I get in the car with these people, and I'm just still just thinking to myself, like, I can't believe these people stopped. Like, my initial thought would be, if I saw me, I would assume you would be trying to steal from me, steal my car, something. And when we start driving, the conversation is weird. Like, not a bad weird, but I have had nothing but small talk with people for months. I don't know when the last time I looked at someone in the eye and actually had a real conversation with them. But this husband and a wife, they conversed with me and they asked me real questions, not bullshit fluff questions, but what's going on that brought you to the point where you're at? How long could you possibly sleep in your car? And I'm just kind of in deflection mode because I listen, you are a vehicle, literally, but you are just a vehicle getting me to my father so that I can get gas and go about doing and living the lifestyle I'm living, because I don't know. This seems to be all I can manage. And so if this is all I can manage, I have to just continue to do what I know to do in order to stay alive and functioning. But they keep asking questions, and it's a little annoying, because I'm like, I would just prefer a silent ride to get to where I'm going. You know, they try to talk to me about Jesus, and it's not something I'm ready for. But I start to feel. Do you remember Feelings? That's a line from It's Always Sunny. You'll hear plenty of references, especially when I have other people. Do you remember Feelings? Yeah, I remember. Are you saying you don't have feelings? Anyway, I didn't. I didn't have feelings. That was the reality of the situation. I did not have feelings. And just like in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, it was because at the time I had a God hole. That'll be a topic for a different day, if maybe ever. But as we get closer to my house, and these people were going to Old North Church, and to be honest with you, I'd love to figure out if these people are still around. I believe they were not. They would probably be in their like 60s, maybe early 70s. I never got their name, never asked anything like that, which shows you the mental state that I was in. Here these people are like helping me get through a very difficult part of my day, and I didn't even care to ask them what their name was. And as I was getting ready to step out of the car, as I go to open the door, the wife turns around and puts her hand on my arm. And I'm thinking, oh, we're about to get freaky in front of your head. No, I'm just playing. She says, "We love you. Everything's going to work out. You're strong enough to get through this." And it like absolutely caught me totally and completely off guard, right? Because up to this point for years now, the message I've gotten from everybody is the exact opposite of that, is that you're a failure, you're never going to become anything, you're just going to die a loser drug addict. That's basically, maybe not in those precise terms, but that's effectively the messaging that I had gotten over the course of the last several years. So again, at the time, I was just like, all right, cool, bye. And I felt nothing. Absolute nothingness, which was my life. And so my dad, pile in the truck with him, going to get gas. And I can't stop thinking about how annoying this fucking couple was. Why were they talking to me about all my bullshit? Why didn't they just leave me alone? Why couldn't they just do what everyone else does and just act transactionally with me? And that was really what opened the door for me to start figuring out how to live life, and how even in times of deep despair, hope can come from anywhere, including strangers. And you'd think you'd get that type of amplification from your friends and family, but it's not always, it doesn't play out how it's written. And so that day, two strangers on their way to church left their home thinking they were going to drive down Shields Road until it turned into Herbert and make that left-hand turn into Old North Church. But along the way, they came across a hopeless, homeless drug addict. And that interaction, that very short car ride, because it wasn't more than 5 to 7 minutes from where I was at to my father's house, made such an impact in my life that it got me to start asking, is this really what I'm here for? Is this all I could possibly? There's no way. I've been told I'm smart my whole life. There's no way that this is all I could possibly be. And from that point on, the engine was moving. And those people allowed me to not only survive, but have allowed me to thrive. And they've allowed me the opportunity to be able to sit in this chair and have open and honest communication about the shit that I've been through and how there is hope on the other side. And it is because I was willing to let one small moment make a shift for me. That micro shift that occurred that day was what allowed the ignition of what would be the next 20 years of my life to start. And I would absolutely love if these people could ever be found. I don't know what are you supposed to do? Like, am I supposed to call Old North and be like, hey, could you put in your bulletin, ask some people if 20 years ago they picked up a homeless kid on the side of the road and took him to his father's house? But in this day and age of social media, I mean, maybe somebody might hear this and share that message, and I might figure out who these people were, because I would love to be able to meet them and tell them the impact that they had on me. And that's what the ethos of my movement is about. It's not about eventually getting to meet someone that you didn't know you helped. It is in the understanding that we don't understand what positivity could come out of one small good deed, and what that might mean to people moving forward. Because I got to tell you, I'm not saying I don't think I've helped an immense amount of people. I hope to be able to add to that number. But here's what I could tell you. I know that I've talked to friends who have felt better off after I've shared a message with them. I know that for 10 years, I worked at the rescue mission and was able to use my own unique experiences to help other people in need. The butterfly effect of the decision that those people made, quite honestly, could have touched the lives of thousands of people, because not that I touched the lives of thousands of people yet, but because I touched the lives of some people who then touched the lives of some people who then touched the lives of some people. And it all starts with one small conversation, one selfless act. And that shift, that tiny micro shift, helps propel goodness forward in a world that needs light. I want to thank you so much. It is extraordinarily therapeutic to be able to talk about this, and I hope that it's therapeutic and helpful for other people to be able to hear this. And if you find yourself in a position where you feel like you need to talk further, don't ever hesitate to reach out to us. I'm at Nick from CWE on every social media network. You can find us at the Microshift on social media as well. Do not hesitate to reach out. Shameless plug, but please subscribe. And, if you know of someone in your life, and it doesn't have to be a drug addict. Like I said, it could be somebody who's in business and just feels like, I'm faking it till I make it, and I don't know how much longer I can do that. It's okay. We are all here together. We're all fighting the same fight. You can go far alone, but you could go further together. All right, that wraps it up for today. Join me next time when I talk about the cop who didn't treat me as a criminal, but treated me as a human. You've been great. We'll talk again soon.